Greetings, this is Cerrone Games Go, back with another video. Today is November 11th, 2018, and we're back. This video is pretty much going to go over a few key points in time as far as Square Enix, where we start in 2005 and how we got here in 2018 today, where they lost $33 million. That's right, Square Enix just made an announcement that they said they lost $33 million. And at the same time, the removal, or whoever, if he quit or got fired, one of the directors of the Final Fantasy 15 games recently resigned around this same pretty much announcement. And when we look back in 2005, I think this is where the beginning of the end for Square Enix as a company that was reputable as far as creating quality games. They still create quality games, but over the last decade, they have made the most insane, and I gotta say absurd, decisions as far as releasing games on time and actually marketing games. Also releasing and re-releasing games that were already on consoles or that were already on systems before, prior to them releasing it again. So let's look at 2005. Now in 2005, every household had a PlayStation 2. Sony had the PlayStation 2 on lock. A lot of people were playing the PlayStation 2. A lot of people did have the Xbox as well. But the PlayStation 2 was a little bit differently because a lot more games were hitting the PS2 a lot more conveniently rather than the Xbox, original Xbox. I myself had both consoles. I did see a uptick in quality as far as Microsoft's console because they created a damn good quality console at that time. But in 2005, Sony decides to release a tech demo at the E3 of a Final Fantasy VII tech demo, and in showing that, it showed the power of their new system that they're working on. And a lot of people were like, wow, this is going to be amazing, hopefully we can get Final Fantasy VII remake on this. Square Enix is doing a bang-up job. To no avail. Final Fantasy VII remake never came. What did come was around the same year, in December, they will release Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2005 of December. In 2006, Square Enix releases Final Fantasy 12. And a lot of people already knew what Final Fantasy 12 was about because if you had the Dragon's Quest 8, it also came with a little demo that you can play. It's a small demo on a separate disc that you could play and experience Final Fantasy 12 before it released in stores worldwide. So Final Fantasy 12 comes out in 2006. Then in 2009, Square Enix releases Final Fantasy 13. Now, they released a trilogy of this series, and Final Fantasy 13, the first one, was probably the highest selling one. After that, they decided to release Final Fantasy 13 2 in 2011. And Final Fantasy 13 2 was received with warm, people looked at it and said, okay, this is all right. I guess this is a continuation of the story. Hope we can wrap this up and we can finally bring on Final Fantasy Versus 13, because that's what people really wanted. They showed a demo of Final Fantasy Versus 13. And a lot of people really wanted that Final Fantasy. I mean, they didn't care about Lightning after the first one. They said it was too linear. They said, let's just bring on this Versus. Let's see what this Versus is about. We didn't hear anything about Versus for quite a while. We also didn't hear anything about that Final Fantasy VII remake for quite a while. Then Square Enix goes along and releases, in 2013, their Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. But at the same time, and you got to remember this, Grand Theft Auto 5 was announced that it was coming. And it was going to be released on September 17th of 2013, right before Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. Now, what's funny about that is Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on a Friday, and it sold, I think, 2 billion in 3 days. I mean, it sold a lot of fucking units. Excuse my language. It sold a lot of units. And what was so cool about it was that if you had the PS3, you pretty much had Grand Theft Auto 5 booted up. You played it. You also had the online aspects, which was free. It was enjoyable. I actually went out and bought Grand Theft Auto 5 when it dropped because I knew, hey, I got to play this game. So you have Grand Theft Auto on September 17th, 2013. And you also have Lightning Returns, which comes out a month later on November of 2013. Obviously, the Grand Theft Auto was the more better popular game. Ended the year off, everybody was playing Grand Theft Auto. As far as Final Fantasy Square Enix was concerned, they were hemorrhaging. They couldn't even move that game at all. That game flopped. Truth be told, Final Fantasy 13, Lightning Returns flopped. It did not do good numbers. A lot of people did not like it. They were pretty much through with it. They were waiting for Final Fantasy 13 Versus, because that's exactly what they promised us as far as the whole Nebula Crystals package that they were promoting all the way back since 2006. Then we have Final Fantasy 15's announcement. Now, Final Fantasy Versus 13 has changed to Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 comes out in 2006. Now, what you got to understand is Final Fantasy Versus 13, they pretty much scrapped it. The director of that game, Tetsuya Nomura, who pretty much had the concept, had the drawings, but could not finish the game because supposedly he was working on other projects. So they had to bring in Hajime Tabata to finish the game. Now, this should show you the mismanagement that's going on in Square-Enix Holdings, because that's what they're called, and how they fumbled through all these years just to release one game that they promised back in 2006. They were crossing over into a 10-year mark with a demo that they showed years ago that they finally decide to put on the people, to put on the gamers, including me. And when we finally received Final Fantasy Versus 13, it was changed to Final Fantasy 15, and they had to bring in Hajime Tabata to finish the game. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Tetsuya Nomura because I think he's really overrated, but I'll get into that later on in the video. But just to show how many years went by since we got any mention of a Final Fantasy VII remake or Final Fantasy Versus 13, which was unanimously changed to Final Fantasy 15. Now, Final Fantasy 15 comes out, and it was an okay game. It wasn't what we were promised, because the follow-up to the game releasing, you had to have Hajime Tabata come out and make another separate video. And he had to pretty much explain what was taken out. What was left on the cutting floor, which was sad. Because it's like, man, you promised us all these years. Our hype was building. Every gamer was speculating. Every fan of Final Fantasy was speculating. What could this story be about? Oh, the story is about this. There were YouTube videos of people making predictions, and none of that came to fruition. It was a totally different game. It was a cardboard cutout of what the game was actually intended to be. And I give Tetsuya Nomura credit for actually making some well-designed characters, having a concept, but he can't execute on time. I'm sorry, but Nomura cannot execute a game on time. And that's shown with Kingdom Hearts 3 and with Final Fantasy Versus 13. Now, some people could sit there and take sides and say, well, he's giving too much. He's giving too much. Yeah, we know he's giving too much, but he's getting paid too. And they're paying him to fill that position. But if you work for a company, you can't come to the table and actually bring out a product and you have nothing but hopes. Well, sorry to say, if you got hope in one hand and doo-doo in the other, guess which one's going to fill up more, So, pretty much in 2015, Final Fantasy is revealed for the PS4. Final Fantasy 7 is revealed, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, wow! Final Fantasy is coming back." They did it again. They show another demo. This is what the game's going to look like. This is how it's going to play out, and we're working on this, and this is definitely coming out. Fast forward to 2017, Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, an old game, is re-released once again in July 2017. Now, Final Fantasy 12 was a good favorite of mine. I like Final Fantasy 12 a lot. I'm glad they re-released it with updated graphics, because I can't see myself actually trying to hook up an emulator and trying to update the graphics myself. I know there's a lot of emulators out there that does it, but I want them to actually commit to it, and I'm glad that Square Enix did that. That was actually a good selling game. A lot of people liked that. The reviews were pretty good about it. It was actually better than it was before, only because a lot of people skipped that because of the debacle with Final Fantasy Versus 13 and the Final Fantasy remake, Final 7 remake of 2005. So I think what ended up happening was Final Fantasy 12, when it was originally released in March of 2006, was hindered because of the Final Fantasy 7 tech demo. And since we haven't heard about it, and we have not received that, a lot of people pretty much pushed Final Fantasy 12 to the side. Because not only did they show that, but around that same time they showed us the Final Fantasy Versus Novella Crystals demo as well. And people had high aspects for the PlayStation 3. Like, these games are coming to PS3. These are going to be so amazing. And none of it showed up. None of it. Final Fantasy Versus 13 never showed up. Final Fantasy 7 Remake never showed up. And this is the history of Square Enix mismanagement. Square Enix Holdings mismanagement as far as the company. And now we get to September the 22nd, 2017. Square Enix announces they want games as a service. Games as a service. You see, what most people fail to realize is the effect that Grand Theft Auto 5 had in September 17th of 2013 really played a heavy part on how games are going to be distributed to the customer. And you gotta understand that pretty much Grand Theft Auto 5 was a major success. To this day in 2018, people are still playing Grand Theft Auto 5. It changed the paradigm of what we call video games and how video games is brought to the gamers. I mean, you look at the success of Fortnite. It's a free-to-play game, but at the same time, a lot of people are lining up to play that game. Same as Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 was released in September of 2013, around the same time that Square Enix took a major blow to their holdings with Final Fantasy Lightning Returns of 2013. Same year. So you gotta look at how Square Enix had to change their business tactics to sit there and say, okay, we're not making money. We now have to implement something. And what did they implement? Games as a service. Because they want to make sure that they get paid just as the developers of Grand Theft Auto 5 are getting paid. Grand Theft Auto 5 developers don't have to release a game at all but once every decade if they wanted to. And they'll still have people playing the game because of their innovation as far as how they bring out the games, what their plan is, and how they execute it. They don't show you a demo of Grand Theft Auto 6 10 years in the making. They don't do that. They show you what's coming out. They say this is when it's coming out and this is when it's going to be released. And they release it, which is good. It's good for business. It's good for gamers. It's good for the overall quality of gaming. But when you have Square Enix who shows you demos years before they even started to even work on it, massive movements as far as management, massive movements as far as switching, developing buildings. They got to go to this building. Now they're going to work in Tokyo. Now they're going to work back over here. This is why Square Enix lost $33 million. So they implement games as a service of September 22nd, 2017. Rocks everyone. Like, what the heck? Why would they do that? And then a year later, they decided they want to bring all their Final Fantasy VII games to the Nintendo Switch, which is a good thing. A lot of people can play it on the Switch. Switch is a good selling console right now. Then in October of 2018, only 1 month later, they released the Kingdom Hearts Story So Far Edition. Now, they just released these same games only a couple of months ago, and they're going to re-release it again because they're hemorrhaging money. They are making bad business decisions. That's just what it is. So, now we get to November 9th of 2018, and we realize that Square Enix has lost $33 million and cancels 3 DLCs for their Final Fantasy 15 season pass, and they're pretty much just killed the game entirely. I personally, once I played it the first time, I never went back to it. I played Comrades a little bit, I never went back to it. That's just how the game is. You get it for what you want, and that's it. If it wasn't what it was when they promoted it for so many years and said this is what the game is, and they changed it right before release date, this is the attitude that the gamers have. You have some gamers that's going to hold on to your game, some possibly because they never heard of it, and others who've been with it since the beginning, since their first reveal, have walked away and said, you know what, I'm done with it. And this is where Square Enix is right now. So they're going to release Kingdom Hearts coming up real soon of next year of 2019. Maybe they'll make money back, or maybe they'll go the games as a service route, which they recently put upon everyone. Like, we're going to do games as a service. We need to make more money. So you may have Kingdom Hearts 3 come out, and it may be chopped up. They may take certain episodes out, and they may just give it to you piecemeal until they figure out how they're going to convince the gamers to continue to support their main franchise, which is Final Fantasy series. So that's my take on it. You know, I'm hopeful. Maybe we'll get Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PS4. I doubt it now. I mean, everybody's already got the PS4, so they're probably going to just move on to the PS5. And they will probably be showing another demo. Expect another demo when they are talking about releasing the PS5. They're already talking about it now. There's been rumors online about it. But expect another tech demo to come out to push and sell a Sony product. This is Cerrone Games Go. And I will catch you guys later. Please leave a comment. Hit the subscribe button. Hit like if you like the video. If you have any comments, put them down under the comment section, and I will holler at y'all later. Peace.